Yo, what's your boy Ghost here, and today I'm bringing us another Warzone 2 video. Today we're going to take a look at the new best class setups from Season 4 Reloaded update. They didn't really actually do anything in this update specifically. Like, the specific weapons, they didn't really nerf or buff that many important weapons. You know, they got a couple things here and there. The most notable thing was the ISO getting nerfed, but they didn't touch the SO14. They didn't touch the 11.56, which I think is kind of underwhelming because, like, you know what I'm saying, that's kind of the weapons that are taking over right now. They somewhat touched the Bassman, like, they didn't really do much to specific weapons, but they did, however, do this thing where they adjusted all the weapons to the new time to kill. So when they increased the time to kill in Season 4, I don't know how that worked. Like, I'm assuming they just took what we already had to the old time to kill to bring it into this until now, where they adjusted every single like profile for every weapon to now match this time to kill. I haven't played the game yet. I don't know how that reacts to every weapon. I think I'm assuming it's gonna feel like some weapons might feel a little bit weaker, some guns might feel a little bit stronger. I don't know how that's gonna work. Can't wait to really experiment through all that in the course of the next couple weeks. But yeah, man. With that being said, let's get into the class setups. And to the first weapon, we're going to be taking a look at the ISO. Now, I know it got nerfed, and, you know, it's kind of weird for me to put it as number one. But if you really think about it, this gun in itself, with this new time to kill, you're supposed to die a little bit slower. This gun was completely evaporating people. This gun was, like, when I used it, I was straight joking people. And if you really think about it, they did nerf it, but none of the other SMGs really got buffed. And prior to this update, I felt like there was a lot of, you know, competitive SMGs, but this one was obviously the clear-cut number one. And so the clear-cut number one did get nerfed, but that only really means it got put to the playing field over the other SMGs, and that no other SMG really is that much better than the ISO to the point where everyone's going to go lean towards that weapon. That just really applies to every SMG. Like, it's not like the Bassman is so much better now that it's better than every SMG and everyone's going to use it. I love the Bassman, though. Bassman's still a good SMG, but it's not that much better than all these other SMGs to make it the clear-cut number one. So I think with this update, although I feel like it was a little lackluster, I think that's going to be pretty good and probably be the number one option for SMGs. It just, I think, allows for more competition in that category and allows for more people to be more comfortable running other SMGs. Hopefully, I'm right in that sense. Hopefully, it's not just like they say they changed it and the ISO's still way more dominant than everything else. But I'll have to wait and see. But regardless, on to the next class. And moving on to the second class setup, we have the Lockman 5.56, which, again, this is a weapon that didn't get touched in the patch notes. And it's not that it needed to get nerfed. It's just more so I felt like they were going to nerf it just because this was, like, the second option for meta. This and the SO14, like, have been what everyone's really been running as their primaries for, you know, pretty much since the season started. Since this new update and everyone figured out what the meta was, this has been just a rampant meta this whole time. Which is, I don't know if it's a bad thing, because it's not like it's just one gun, like both of them. You can choose either way you want. If you're not really good with semi-weapons, you can use a Lockman 5.56. If you want to use something that's more powerful and are comfortable using a semi-weapon, that's a 14. And, you know, I think these two weapons are pretty, you know, this is the first time they're really into meta. I don't think it's that boring or bland yet, just because we barely had them really used at all leading up to this. So I'm not really too upset, because that's a 14 in itself. Like, it's not like crazy two-shot. I mean, it can two-shot to an extent, but it's not like, for me, I haven't really been annoyed dying to it. And now that I say that, I may get completely ran by it the next couple of weeks. But, you know, I was expecting something just for the sake of opening up more variety. It's not that there isn't variety. Like, I think there's obviously way more contenders out there, but for right now, this is what everyone's leaning to. And again, it's probably going to still remain the same just because it didn't get changed. Anyways, moving on to the next class. And here we have the third gun. Now, I could have gone with the SO14. I'm still probably going to put the SO14 in this one just because it's literally logically the one gun to still be up there. But I want to put the second in here because I feel like the best primary is found in the LMG category. And for whatever reason, we just haven't gone back to an LMG meta. Now, I'm not complaining that an LMG isn't meta, but again, these are supposed to be the best 5 class setups. And again, I do feel like the LMGs are where the best guns are found. The Seiken, in my opinion, is way better than the Lockman 5.60. The only thing that the Lockman has over the Seiken is that it's faster. And that could be the only logical reasoning why we haven't gone back to an LMG meta. I don't really want an LMG meta because the RPK was annoying, so maybe people somehow collectively agreed that we're not going back to an RPK meta, which is, you know, completely fine. But realistically, the best gun in the game is an LMG, which is this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you use this weapon and you see what it does, I feel like there's no argument over a Lockman. Like, the Lockman is just faster, but if you can kill faster with this, have 40 extra bullets, why not use the Seiken? Like, for me personally, like, the only logical thing was that it's slower, and because that kind of steers me away from LMGs. But when I use them, man, I always have a great time. And I feel like at some point the majority is gonna shift over to an LMG. At some point, if they figure out it's like just way better. But again, I'm just throwing out the message. If you guys choose to run with it, that's on y'all. I definitely recommend it to you guys because the second's nasty, but it's all up to you guys. Moving on to the next one. And here we have the SO14. I felt like leaving this weapon out would have been just a complete, like, L, just because this gun didn't get nerfed at all. Just like the Lycan 5.56, coming into this update, they were the meta, and they, didn't change them for whatever reason. Now, I don't know how heavily they're relying on the whole time to kill adjustment thing, because I feel like the semis before any of this happened was really good. Like, if you guys look back, I made videos on the EBR, the FTAC. Like, I've used semi weapons, and I know that they're pretty solid, or have been solid this whole time, even before they became cool with the Cronin and this one. So maybe they're, I don't know how, like I said, maybe they're just relying on that whole adjustment. But again, like I just don't think that's enough. This weapon is still very ridiculous, and they needed to do something. I don't understand how they didn't do anything to it at all. Maybe it's because it may not be as popular as I'm thinking. Because now the more I think about it, when I play in Warzone, like, I don't see this weapon as often as you would think you would see for how good it is. In comparison to like the RPK, like the RPK meta, you saw that everywhere. Everybody had it. This gun, I feel like every other person has it, or every person, like every 1/3 of the person in the lobby has it. It's not as popular as some of these other weapons. I haven't had that big of a problem with this weapon. I haven't really been frustrated by dying to it, just because I don't feel like I see it that often. Heck, even the Locken 5.56, I think I see more than the other 14. I don't play ranked. I know in ranked, most of the top players use this weapon. So I don't really know like how that works in ranked. For anyone that plays ranked, give me some insight, because I don't have a squad to play with. I just be playing solos. So I don't get to experience that no more. But the solo aspect of it, I don't really be seeing it like that. But anyways, man, moving on to the last gun. And last but not least, we have the Bass P. Now, this one might be a little controversial because I've seen the hate that this gun gets for whatever reason. I don't think this gun deserves any hates. I think this gun is actually very, very good. But some people think it's not that good, which is kind of weird to me. So what I'm about to say might come as a surprise to a lot of y'all. But I do think that the Bass at the moment is the second best SMG in the game. It's, in my opinion, at the very least, a top 3. For some, it may not be number 2. But it definitely should be looked at as a top 3 SMG. I don't see how a Bassman, Lockman, or a Bell is just in any way that much better than a Bass. So maybe for some of you guys, y'all make the argument or whatever. But the Bassman has literally like remained untouched for most of the season. It's got that one huge buff in Season 3 Reloaded, I think it was Season 3 Reloaded. And it's just been dominant. Like, it was dominant before that update, and it still remains dominant now. For me personally, this has been like my go-to SMG before I had the ISO leveled up. The Bass was before it, and this gun just never lets me down. It's very, very good. And up until the ISO came, I wasn't losing to anything. Then the ISO came, and so in my opinion, I think the Bass is a toned down version of the ISO. Like, if you went head to head now with the ISO getting nerfed, though, I think they're a little bit more closer. They should be a little bit more closer, which makes my case even more stronger, just because, like I said, I feel like it's the Bass is right there, or almost right there with the ISO. With this update, hopefully it's now like the gap is closed and more people can see that the Bass should be considered as a top SMG. But anyways, I'll leave it up to you guys. Again, all these classes right here, it's just me giving you guys the message. It's all up to you guys if you guys want to use them. And obviously, when the new season or the new big update dropped, it's a little bit kind of a scramble to figure out what the next best metas are. So hopefully this guys helps you guys in your games today. And yeah, man, that being said, if you do enjoy it, hit that like button, let them out. Peace.